I am going to be sharing about the gift of a terminal diagnosis. And this came forward after an amazing gift had been offered to me by my coaching community, who created a fundraiser called Awakening to the Wisdom Within. We actually added the second word, to. In the process of the event being delivered, collectively they had decided it was originally Awakening the Wisdom Within, but Awakening to the Wisdom Within added something very significant. And this event, and that's a little bit of a teaser of what I'll be sharing about, but this event had three principals, coaches from the Three Principles community, from the University of Santa Monica spiritual psychology community, as well as some of my personal mentors who were extraordinary coaches in their own right. And at a certain point, and I'll preface this by saying I was at a cancer clinic in Canada while this was being delivered. I'm sorry, when this was being created, and I was at a meditation retreat when it was being delivered. I joined in briefly to express gratitude, but this really went on without me, and it was an exercise for me to receive, because the fundraiser brought in so many donations that we were able to really create over the next few months a pattern of like bringing in integrative treatments for a diagnosis that at this point was coming into like the 1 year left marker. Prostate cancer is characterized by a slow growth, and for someone who like I would characterize this as having been traditionally a tendency of mine to be very much in control and to run everything, which has served me well as been a challenge. It has enabled me to create a life since I received this diagnosis, which only became technically terminal, I'd say about 6 months ago, when they told me 19 months was my prognosis. But to create over 5 years a life that, because I was in a space where there was always an opportunity for me to be uncomfortable with what everybody often would consider a worst case scenario, a continual opportunity to be scared and automatically you're placed in what my coaching community love to talk about as outside of your comfort zone, which is the opportunity to grow. So you also have a decision right then and there when you get diagnoses, when you get prognoses, to become passive or to become very active. Now, the paradox of this, and this is something a lot of very wise teachers have taught about in terms of surviving chronic illnesses, the paradox of this is that what really supported my healing is a diminishment of the stress and a stepping into of surrender and acceptance of the ultimate scheme. I like the word scheme, of mortality that we're all in, but in a much more right-in-your-face type of way. It invited me to be in that space of discomfort, but also with that decision of being in action or being in passive, to move into a full commitment to survival and to longevity, but more than longevity, and this is where the gift comes in, living a life that is in keeping with who you perceive you are at the most essential level. Remember, I mentioned this event was called Awakening the Wisdom Within. So if we put in awakening to the wisdom within, which in the course of this amazing coaching all-day event, the group, I believe, decided to start calling it Awakening to the Wisdom Within. It connects to that space, and a lot of the mystics talk about this, where there is a connection between the energy centers in your heart and your head. Joe Dispenza does excellent work in this area, but connecting those two, there is no division even between wisdom and love. And where that connection is, the wisdom, the heart, love is within us, and it doesn't require awakening. It simply requires a presence in being. And that really was my path into the deep paradox of being fully committed and active to creating a healing within myself to the best of my ability, but also surrendering to however this is going to show up. And even as I share this, there's like an inward cringe, like thinking, oh, it's so easy to talk about this, but it's in the field of life, on the coaching court, on the court. This plays out often in a very messy way. I have found over and over again that my path to healing and my path of providing the deepest service that I can in the time I have left is related to slowing down and connecting with that silence in between the words. The gift of this event that was provided for me was that I had teachers and coaches at the very highest level of mastery modeling that for me, saying things like, oh, what I'm saying hopefully will point in this direction. They're not saying this is this, that is that. They're saying this points in that direction. And as I experienced that, that's where the gift is. And the paradoxes almost seem to multiply out from that. So I have to surrender to win. I have to move into action to be free. And I have to serve to receive. Where paradoxes live, there is duality. And where duality disappears, therein lies the heart of the paradox and the singularity of heart and wisdom. And that's another pointer phrase that can be experienced often when you're in the field of challenge in a way that you've never expected to be in. So when you know that you have, medically speaking, a prognosis which as a cancer coach, I always work with folks as to not believe the prognosis, but believe the diagnosis. The diagnosis is a set of conditions that we have that are actionable. And when you know that there is a timeline, medically speaking, you have time to develop your life in a way that not only honors the imperfection of the path, but that pays a deep respect to the nature of the infinite, which is death, life, our immortal souls, our experience of ourselves as divine beings having a human experience. And the way that shows up is that you can truly believe yourself healed, and you can create a mindset that knows yourself as healed while still acknowledging what doctors are saying, acknowledging test results, acknowledging the opportunity for making decisive actionable steps towards one treatment or another, and yet knowing that all is well. And this is not something that necessarily is a natural wisdom or a natural state of being. And it's my experience is it's really only arrived at when you give voice to the messiness and the upset and the anxiety and the fear. If you can have a system for having that being flowing freely through you, you can reach a point where you understand that you are healed. And if you step even further into a practice that supports deep inner knowing of the inviolability of your true nature and the eternity that is your essence, you can create miracles, radical remissions. So I offer this to anybody who has a chronic condition, a diagnosis, that there's a great freedom in information. And that freedom really comes from your stepping into the experience of being comfortable with being in discomfort. And you start to notice all around you angels appearing and little harbingers of wisdom appearing on a cocktail napkin or in a phrase in a newspaper or in something somebody will casually say or in the way a squirrel holds a saltine cracker in the park. A reminder, and suddenly everything is speaking to you. All of life is in conversation with you. You seem to have opened up in a new way. And when your heart is open, when your soul is on fire with the joy of surviving, within you there seems to be birthed and understanding that you are not really constrained by a single life. And you are not constrained by your own ideas of your limitations, your imperfections, and your perceived skills or level of mastery. And you're not constrained by circumstances. And we all, I think, inside know that what is being created is a unique opportunity not only to heal, but to recognize that we're surrounded by gifts. And sometimes the gift may not be one of our preference, but the opportunity is always the same. How can I use this? How can I receive this? How can I find that within me which is something I experience as unconditional love, to use all gifts, all circumstances, all diagnoses, all situations, all physical limitations for a way to step into a greater expression of love and service on this world in a way that honors this infinite power within us, this passion, this glory, this freedom. And here we are. And if you look around us, there are other people. And one of the coaches spoke about challenges with extreme circumstances, such as a terminal diagnosis. And she spoke of it from her heart. And she spoke of it in a way that demonstrated great empathy, but not sympathy. And when I see people like that coming forward, I instantly know here's where my food is, my experiencing those who have the courage to look deeper, to find that there is indeed a ravishingly intense and beautiful opportunity to become that which we seek. And sometimes you experience your success in this, on this path through the eyes of others. Oh my, when I think of how people have shared with me how they experience me in ways that I have thought myself sometimes criminally lacking, as we are we're so conditioned to comparing ourselves to others. And then when I hear them share about their experience of me, that it's really what I was always going for, and I never thought I achieved, I can say, well, I can be this also. I can reflect to others my experience of them and their divinity as inherent. And I thought to myself, how can I speak to those who have what they understand is a potential or a possible limitation of their lifespan and a diminishment of their ability to be in this world the way they would prefer. And I offer you this. We have an opportunity to live life louder, to live the suffering, to live the joy, to live the challenge at an accelerated, expanded, and extraordinary way that just shivers the timbers of the bodily constraints in a way that vibrates the soul of healing by welcoming everything, even the expression of pain. And wise people have shared with me, it's not always the pain that was the hardest for them, but it was their resistance to the pain. And this is something my friend Kirk Souder said so eloquently in our event. So again, this is an expression of gratitude for me. But what's really the soul of this sharing is how you can put it into action in a way that is uniquely you, that puts aside judgment. And of course, we use judgment for discernment, but ultimately, how we walk through life and how we step into this space of using everything for our upliftment and growth, a wonderful expression I've learned from the University of Santa Monica, is how we connect with something that we are not, but that everybody is, and that is the allness and the singularity of our common expression of divinity. And from there, we are able to act, and the gift of a terminal diagnosis is the opportunity for a deepened awareness of this state of consciousness and a playing field ahead of us that by the virtue and definitions of a perceived limitation, we can move into action in a uniquely powerful way. So I offer this in the spirit of miracles, in the spirit of being there for others in a way you would like them to manifest for you. My mother died when I was 18 years old, and her sister, my aunt, once shared with me, you know, Bonnie really showed me how to die. I heard this later in life. And I always wondered what that meant. For me, it simply meant courage. And maybe it all boils down to courage, which is, I think, an expression of life force and life essence. Stepping into courage is a way of honoring the full dimensions of our expression in this world with action. And I am grateful when I can remember to be grateful, and I'm thrilled when that comes forward in a natural way, and I am sad, glad, mad, happy, joyous, free, messy in me. And that is not only the road less traveled, but a special, secret, and ageless way of knowing miracles on this time-bound path of life.